You're procrastinating on bar prep. You have a lot to do, but you're not opening your material or logging in on the website or in any way getting started. You feel yourself almost freezing and time is slipping away. If this is you, you'll want to watch this video to the end and pick up the tips on what to do about this freeze response that you are experiencing when it comes to bar prep. Hi, I'm Jennifer DeClaire, bar exam mentor and attorney life coach, helping you to pass the bar exam through emotional and mindset tools and strategies that support you to have your best bar prep season ever and to finally beat the bar. If you want more resources, I've included lots of links below so that you can start getting the mindset support that you need to leave this bar exam in the past. Now, know they need to study, but they're not getting started with it. If you're doing this, it's because of one of three reasons. And don't beat yourself up if you find that one of these three applies to you. There are very good reasons behind them, and I'll explain why. The first reason is that you simply do not have a plan. You may know that you need to study. You may even have materials. But one of the reasons why commercial bar prep gives you a daily task list is because that's what you need for your brain to decide to jump on in. If you're not able to go task by task, if you're not able to stick to your tasks and go down the list, chances are you are one of the four personality types who needs to see the big picture. Now, if you don't know, I have come up with 4 study personalities that commonly recur amongst my clients, and each study personality type has certain strengths and also drawbacks that they need to look out for in order to not get bogged down in study. Now, the personality type who needs to see the big picture and can often get bogged down by seeing that big picture is the wisdom personality type. If you're wondering what study personality type you are, what your strengths are because of it, and what are the cautionary signs that you need to look out for so that you don't fail at bar prep, there's a link below where you can take a free quiz and find out what your study personality type is, and the results will bring you your pointers, your tips, your things to look out for as well. You'll get a web page and an email that explains some things to you about your study personality type. The person who needs to see the big picture will also be someone who enjoys getting into the nuances of the law, who likes to understand things thoroughly. They want to know why things are a certain way. They really want to explore all the sides of things and get really deep into it. The problem with this is that you'll get bogged down with basically too much information. Bar prep is already a huge monster, and wanting to get into the depths of every little thing makes it an even bigger monster. Now, how does this relate to procrastination? Because of your already automatic habit of making things deeper than they need to be, you'll also find yourself looking at the big picture, which is something that wisdom personality types do and kind of need for comfort, is the big picture. But you'll look at the big picture and somehow believe that you have to tackle the big picture, the whole picture at once. In other words, you cannot look at the small pieces that make up the big picture. You get the big picture in mind, and then that's it. And there's this expectation that the big picture has to happen right away. And because you know this is not possible, you grow discouraged instead of deciding to take it piece by piece until you reach the end. And so this is where the correction of this source of procrastination comes from. Instead of looking at the big picture and then feeling overwhelmed, have an exact study schedule that says what you're going to do each day. And then just look at the day. You only look at the big picture at the beginning of your whole study, bar prep, before you start studying, before you open the books or even purchase your courses. You can lay out a meticulously personalized bar prep plan. I'm going to put the link for how you can do that below. And then you'll know day by day exactly what you are going to do. And then I urge you to forget the big picture and just focus on one foot in front of the other. And if you can do that, then you can stay encouraged, because you only have to finish the small chunk of a task, not this big, huge behemoth picture of the entire bar prep. You just have to focus on getting what I need to get done this afternoon, and that's it. Now, if you're following a commercial bar prep plan, chances are 80% of what you're doing is not helping you at all, is sucking a lot of your time, and is making you mentally exhausted. You need to trim down your bar prep to only the things that help you, that support you, your mental strength, and also support your emotional needs in bar prep, because this is a lot of the reason why people fall off of bar prep, is their emotional needs are not met. So if you are someone who you're okay going day by day, but the day is overwhelming, you want to personalize your bar prep, find out what activities are okay to let go of, which activities you should bump up to the top of the list because those are the activities that your brain relies on the most, and arrange your studies to support memorization and recall. If you want to be able to do that, look below for the link that shows you how to personalize your bar prep. All that being said, if you are procrastinating because you're a big picture person, you're a wisdom personality, your directives now is to try this on for size. Try stopping the studying and starting the actual practicing. Start the actual practicing. Especially if this is not your first time taking the bar exam, chances are you don't need to spend as much time reading every single line and every single word as you did before. If you have a really hard time getting into practice questions, practice essays, etc., without having reviewed the material first, then I urge you to lean on your learning strength and use that to skim a summary of the material. So whatever your learning strength may be, and if you're not familiar with those terms, then again, check out the link on how to personalize your bar prep. But whatever your learning strength may be, will be the easiest way for your brain to learn, to review, and to recall the information. So you want to rely on the study strategies that call on your learning strength. And once you know what your learning strength is and the different strategies that go with it, choose one of those strategies and implement that for your review. And you want your review to not take more than one study day per topic. That way, the next time you go over the material, you will go straight into practicing. Now, if you're not familiar with our methods of repetition over the subjects, then you'll definitely want to check out the link about personalizing your bar prep, because that's how we make sure that you remember the material like your phone number or your social security number, right? By the cyclical repetition over the different topics. The next reason that people freeze or procrastinate when it comes to studying is because they've already started beating themselves up. This means that you have a habit of negative self-talk and harsh criticism. And it happens when you might look at something and realize that you had forgotten it, so you beat yourself up for that. You answer a practice question, you get it wrong. For whatever reasons that you got it wrong, you beat yourself up for that. You got an answer right, but you didn't logically think through it. You can't explain why you got it right. And so you take away any credit from yourself and you beat yourself up for not being able to repeat verbatim the logic that got you to the correct answer. You start studying knowing that there's way too much for you to do. And you know that when you give up, you're going to beat yourself up for having given up, so you don't get started at all. All of these situations trace back to how you're talking to yourself. That's another reason why people procrastinate is if you knew you were heading into a punishment, a lecture, a critical dress down, would you be racing into that room? Or would you drag your feet and go as slowly as possible, hoping that the person goes away, forgets about you, or it otherwise blows over? Chances are you would be procrastinating on going to that meeting or to that situation where you know you're about to meet with harsh criticism. Well, if you're criticizing yourself during bar prep, there's a part of you that's going to be doing that foot dragging because it does not want to be criticized like that. So your self-talk is creating the situation that keeps you procrastinating on bar prep. The solution to that is to learn how to speak to yourself more lovingly, changing your self-talk. That can be a process, but if you work on getting it started now, you'll be further along the road than if you never started at all, right? So changing your self-talk to be more compassionate with yourself, to congratulate yourself whenever you've done any little thing, do that for yourself. By the time that you've gotten to taking the bar exam, you are doing more than most. Congratulate yourself for every time that you sit down and open the books to study. Celebrate yourself for getting through the block of practice questions. Another thing to do if harsh self-criticism is one of your stumbling blocks is to do all your practice questions at one go, then check the answers later. That way you don't lose momentum. That way you keep yourself in the flow. Otherwise, you end up checking the answer, seeing that you got it wrong, then you get into the whole self-criticism and flagellation thing, and then your emotional energy has been spent and you don't have energy left for finishing the practice problems. So save all the checking of the answers until later. Finish your practice problems, take a break. That way you have a clear demarcation between your study practice block and your checking the answers block. And you want that demarcation so that you don't end up associating the negative criticism of getting it wrong with the practicing of the questions. So do your questions, congratulate yourself, get a slice of chocolate cake, go for a walk, give yourself something nice at the end of those practice questions, even take a nap. Then come back and check the answers. And that way you can separate the mental link between all that self-criticism that's probably going to come up and the questions themselves. So that at the very least, even if you don't get the self-criticism under control, it won't be linked to your time of answering the practice questions. In fact, you'll have a mental association between finishing 50 practice questions and getting a reward. So not only do all your practice questions first and check the answers later, but try to actually separate the whole question answering part from the checking your answers part. That's my tip on what to do if you find self-criticism is something that keeps you procrastinating when it comes to studying. The last reason that you may procrastinate is it's a huge act of self-sabotage. Yes, self-criticism comes into play, but if you learn to speak to yourself compassionately and you see that you're still procrastinating, the procrastination can be aimed to the bigger goal of keeping you on this side of admission as opposed to on the other side, keeping you from crossing that threshold. A lot of people call this the fear of success, but that's a big, broad term that has a lot of things that go into it. In fact, I'm going to record a video on one of the biggest reasons why people keep themselves from crossing the threshold, which would be their feelings of deservedness or self-worth. And I'll cover that in the video that I will record on self-worth. But in this video specifically, look at your future as an attorney and what it appears like to you. Is it a happy thing that you're looking forward to or negative? Again, it's under the whole fear of success, but the fear of success really has to do with if I succeed, then I'll have to do this. If I succeed, then my life will look like that. If I succeed, then I'll have to face blah, 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 existential crisis, right? Or I'll lose my friends, or there's so many things that we may not even realize that we're afraid of, but we expect will happen if we become an attorney. And those things that are silently in the background, making noise, and your body responds to it by freezing and not moving forward on bar prep, you're only thinking, why aren't I studying? What's going on? I'm not studying. I'm some lazy. You're giving yourself all this negative talk, thinking the only problem is that you're not studying and you're supposed to be studying. Whereas all this stuff is going on in the background and is at this moment unconscious because you're not consciously thinking about it. Oh, I don't want to pass the bar because I'll lose my friends. You're not thinking that out consciously. It's happening back there. And your mind is following through with the command to not lose friends, because keeping friendship connections is a psychological need. And you're not moving forward with studying off of a lot of unconscious reasons. If you want help to explore what your future looks like to you, I have a manual to bust bar exam blocks. It's free. You can download it and work through the exercises. And when you do that, you're going to open your own eyes to the reasons why your inner self might be sabotaging your progress. Use the manual that I'm linking below to dig up what those unconscious reasons might be so that you can move past those reasons. At least if you're aware of them, a lot of them drop away just because you're aware. A lot of them you can troubleshoot and come up with solutions for because, again, you're aware. And finally, a last piece of them, you'll be able to say, even if you can't solve it today, you can say, well, I'll deal with that on the other side of this bar exam. Let me table that. And now I know what it is. Let me table that and I'll deal with it on the other side of the bar exam. And if you do that, then whenever you're finding yourself procrastinating, you can also tell yourself, oh, it's just that thing that still needs to be dealt with. But we'll deal with it after we finish studying and passing the exam. Then we'll deal with this thing that I know that my inner self is afraid of. And in that way, you're able to self-soothe, move past the procrastination and get into your studying. So use the manual to become aware of what might be making you sabotage yourself from passing. And with that awareness, you can deal with those issues and lay them to rest so that you can go ahead and move forward into your study. Now, I've given you 3 different reasons why you may be procrastinating. 1, you're hooked or stuck on the big picture and you're having a freeze response. 2, negative self-criticism is causing you to put off studying because you don't want that emotional punishment. And 3, you might have unconscious reasons, fears that all amount to fear of success that are making you sabotage yourself when it comes to bar prep. These are the 3 different reasons why you might be procrastinating now. And I've given you solutions to each of those to help you stop procrastinating now so that you get studying so that you can pass the bar exam. If you want deeper help on any one of those things, I'll put a link below where you can book a consultation with me and we can dive deeper into giving you an exact roadmap on what steps to take for yourself. Now, if you feel like working through each of the suggestions I gave you on your own, you can also use the links that I've posted below to DIY your remedy. A lot of people have found great support in having me listen to your story and tell you exactly where you need to go to solve your particular mindset hurdles when it comes to bar prep. And if you're one of those people, there's a link below for a confidence kickstart call. I welcome you onto my calendar. It's a paid consultation because you're walking away with an exact plan on how to help yourself pass the bar exam. And I'm happy to do that for you, whether or not we work together moving forward in the future. So it's one of those things where you can get my wisdom without any kind of long-term commitment. And I welcome you into that if that's something that you would like to do. Thank you for watching to the end. Subscribe and keep an eye out for the self-worth video if you think that fear of success is one of your reasons why you may not be passing this bar exam.